I should stop doomscrolling at 2 a.m. And you should too. Yeah, actually you, Mr. or Mrs. I'll go to bed at 10 p.m., but oh wait, I wasn't keeping track of time. But since you are here, I think we should talk about this. Right here. We are living in times of uncertainty, and you could tell just by being online. Depression rates are friggin' high because of the housing crisis, the economy being crappy, and just a bunch of other stuff. But in this month's video, I'll do a bit of a summary on how we got to where we are, what we are dealing with, and even if there's a drop of hope on the horizon. So let's buckle in, and the Amazing already made a video like this. For the record, I was already planning my video for a couple months before that. I'll try my best not to be one-to-one, but I'm sure things will overlap. Maz, if by some random chance you are seeing this, don't kill me. Okay, how did we get here? Well, that depends where you want your starting point to be. You could argue this all started in 2020, 2016, 2008, or 200,000 years ago. But I'll just start with the 2008 financial crisis because what's happening now feels pretty similar. Plus, I was born then, so, of course. Time to give a brief summary of the last 18 years. But just remember, this is not the reason for everything, it's just a helpful timeline which branches, subdivides, yada yada, you get the gist. In short, the 2008 financial crisis was caused by banks giving away too many risky home loans, causing the economy to go down into the gutter. Millions of families lost money, and the ripple effects went around the world. The recession added further pressure on the Middle East, which was already fighting against brutal regime suppression. This was the Arab Spring, which led a ton of refugees to flee to Europe in the mid-2010s. This is now the 2015 migrant crisis, which saw over 1 million refugees enter the continent. Many people protested the mass migrations because of cultural strain, economic issues, and concerns of rising assaults. That, alongside concerns of globalization and isolationism, in 2016, Britain began the process of exiting the European Union, also known as Brexit. They officially left 4 years later. We're halfway there, I'm so sorry. The United States had entered its 2016 election year. Unlike elections of the past, this saw the rise in anti-establishment populism. Historical achievements were made, with a major party being led by a woman for the election, and a complete outsider/media personality winning the election. Politics were now a media spectacle. In 2020, a certain pandemic led to a worsened economy, job layoffs, and increased depression. The US president lost that year's election, claiming it was fraudulent, and attempted a coup. In 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. This was the first major European war that occurred since the Second World War. Although made in 2022, OpenAI's ChatGPT kicked off the AI boom in 2023. The AI arms race between the United States and China escalated. Companies began pouring a lot of money into the technology. And I'll leave it at that because we're now in the present, the mid-20s, circa 2024 to 2026 or 2027. So now we're left with a bunch of hoopla. I believe many of the younger generations, millennials, but primarily Gen Z, are feeling really bleak about our future. And I don't blame you for feeling that way. Most of Gen Z has had a hard time getting a job because, believe it or not, Gen Z babies are now adults, minus those in 2008 who are just graduating and 2009s. Young adults who are in fact working are struggling to get by. Many feel like they're drowning, while some just manage to live sort of comfortably. Western countries are now using foreign workers and migrants because they'll work for the bare minimum. This is not the direct fault of the immigrants, but the policies that reel them in. That has a direct side effect of making it harder for adults to find jobs, let alone teenagers who are just trying to get into the workforce. Take for instance my friend Fry, not his real name, who has applied to over 50 places and only received 2 interviews, neither of which hired him. One of them was McDonald's, which is an entry-level job he should not be struggling to get. And it's not for lack of trying, although he did get a job in late April where he goes around promoting a local house painting company and is hoping to actually be able to paint soon, so let's see how that goes. Housing has gone up dramatically in the past couple of years, but job wages, not just minimum wages, have not been keeping up. The vast majority of people are just renting a home, and even that's still a struggle. Minimum wage in BC starting June 2026 will be $18.25 an hour. Assuming a full-time position, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks over a month, you'll be making a little over $2,900 a month. Depending on where you live in BC, an average 2-bedroom apartment, not even a house, could cost you between $2,500 and $3,000 a month. Let's say you make $25 an hour under the same conditions, you'd make $4,000 a month, leaving you with just $1,000, but that's not including taxes, bills, or other essentials. AI, like I mentioned, has been a major talking point recently, with concerns of job security being a big one. Because of its cheapness, similarly to foreign workers, companies have already started using AI to lay off thousands of workers in the United States. Some data suggests this trend might be leaking into Canada. Other concerns regarding AI are typically focused on it being used for scamming, creating false information, or pretending real information is fake, environmental concerns, making people lazy, or simply just being schlop. But this is just generative AI. Personally, AI as a medium of technology I think is pretty cool, but we can discuss that another time. Climate change is also something people are really wary of, although, is it me or have people just kind of forgotten about it? Because like now it's just a footnote of conversations. Effects are rising temperatures, pollution of our water, microplastics, extreme or abnormal weather conditions. The overwhelming scientific consensus for decades is that all of this is predominantly human influenced, with minor effects just because of the Earth. And now I'm going to tackle this part in depth. Polarization. It's massive. You know the part in this video when I talked about politics and society, also known as this entire damn video? Well, a large chunk of that has to do with the intense divide that has been growing among people, which has increased rapidly in recent times. Normally this would be a US-focused topic, but it would be ignorant of me to say this hasn't started to seep its way into Canada and Europe. I'd say polarization definitely grew because of the pandemic. You were either pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. The idea of a lab leak origin began to spread around, but that also had two camps: intentional lab leak against accidental lab leak. Current data suggests that it's most likely of animal origin, a bat, but some data suggest a potential lab leak could have been the origin, but we don't have a clear answer, and conspiracies don't help. Sort of, but not 100% related. Conspiracies have also grown in popularity. Maybe one day I'll do a video going in depth that could be fun. I think my problem with them is that the people who do believe in these conspiracies about billionaires, corporations, Israel, and the New World Order aren't that they're wrong. It's just that they go overboard with everything to the point where they have little to no evidence for the claims by the end of their talking points or whatever. People have become so paranoid and worried that anything that seems just a little off is a conspiracy, that it's fabricated by the government, the lizards are going to get them, and that the sky isn't real. According to the National Library of Medicine, people who are so deep into conspiracy thinking tend to have huge strains on romantic, family, and social relationships. Socially, conspiracy theorists tend to be excluded from their peers, stigmatized, and in extreme cases, the believer might become aggressive and or abusive, and eventually turn into online circles that would then feed their beliefs via echo chambers. And echo chambers aren't exclusive to conspiracy thinking. Online, a person's feed is adjusted to how they interact with stuff, and that's intentional. All of these apps are used to manipulate their users into getting into close-knit circles, whether that's politics, entertainment, sports, or whatever, and then when a voice from outside that group or a person within it meets that other group, online harassment occurs, even if it's for like a very insignificant thing. And then someone screenshots it, throws it around, and people are like, well, these people are sure irrational, let's harass them. And this isn't one-sided or anything. All sides of the political spectrum have their conspiracies and echo chambers. I should probably give a warning that this next section talks about political violence. You have been warned. But it's not just online, these things go into real life. In the United States, polarization has gotten so bad that political violence has begun to spiral. In 2024, the then former President Donald Trump almost got assassinated. In June 2025, two Democratic Minnesota legislators got assassinated, and political commentator Charlie Kirk was assassinated in September 2025. I saw the uncensored footage only a few hours after the fact, and my reaction was, holy shit. And I saw so many people online cheering about the whole thing, which was, and is, disgusting. Although I do find myself laughing at the Kirk memes. In case you're wondering, no, I don't agree with a lot of what this man believed in or preached. As far as I knew about him while he was still alive, he was a loser who debated college kids. Whoop-de-doo. With all this political talk, you may wonder where I lean. I don't have strong feelings towards liberals or conservatives. I also don't want to set anything in stone because I'm pretty sure my views will change down the line. But one thing I do feel confident in is that I'm pretty pragmatic. I don't like the idea of following a person or a party just for the ideology. I'd rather just vote for them like the normal way, which is, this party has a good platform or track record, and I'll vote for them. Whichever one makes me the least poor should all be voted for. Remember this, kiddos, who probably shouldn't be watching this video. Politics aren't the only defining characteristics in finding friends. Games, movies, songs, or whatever can come first. That's a lot of heavy stuff, but what can we do? Honestly, I wish I had a good answer, but I don't. Again, I'm just an 18-year-old from Canada shouting into the endless void with my 600 subscribers. However, I am going to inject you with some hopium and things anyway. On an individual level, you're right, you can't change a difficult situation, whatever it may be, overnight. But, as naive as it may sound, you really just have to keep your head up and just improvise, adapt, overcome, Bear Grylls your way through things. Don't get delusional and think things will just magically fall into place, you gotta work for it. But, keep your head up. And sure, mock optimism all you want, but you're acting like pessimism is better. At least with optimism, it gives you the drive for motivation and potential change. When you're a pessimistic a-hole all the time, you're not doing anything. You're whining and moaning, but not offering any good ways to change things. You are a bum. A thing I've been hearing people say is, oh, we're in the end times, we won't make it to 2030, we're at the worst point in human history. And my response to that is, really? The worst point in human history? Worse than the Great Depression, World War II, slavery, the literal beginnings of humanity, that one time we went to Tim Hortons and they said they were not selling anymore goddamn creamy chocolate chills? Yeah, things suck now, but we have so many cool things that didn't even exist 100 years ago. Modern medicine is a good example in my opinion. And something I'm not hearing people say is that we can call out corruption so easily. I mean, whether or not they're going to do anything is, something, but, we can acknowledge it, I guess. And yeah, we're watching as people are calling out these governments left, right, and center, and change is happening. For example, look at Nepal. In September 2025, protesters, primarily Gen Z by the way, fought back against their corrupt government and toppled over their leaders. And also, for a good chunk of the world, we still do have democracy, so you can vote for the change that you truly believe in. So do it. If you're old enough, vote. I don't imagine things will change in a year or 5 or 10, but I do know that it will not be super duper catastrophic as people make it out to be. Change doesn't happen with people who think the world's going to end by tomorrow. Change happens with people who think there's going to be a world by tomorrow and beyond that, and that we can do better. Alright, I think it's enough talking. I really should be heading to bed now. Have a good night. Oh. Well, it's 6, practically 7 a.m. This is my fault. That's what I get for reposting deepfake edits of Walter White and Charlie Kirk driving off in the sunset with See You Again in the background. Well, time to get ready for my day.